They fester around every corner. They thrive in their mom's basement. Their ungodly horde grows with each passing day. They give money to women on the internet. Simps. You know them. You may even be one. But what would happen if simps were given control of a nation? What would the effects be on society, on culture, on civilization? What would a group of right-wing autocratic simps do if given total power? First off, how would such a state be structured? Going with a right-wing approach, we're going to assume that they're capitalist, though a more socialist or mixed economic approach with higher redistribution for half-decent-looking women is possible, but I've decided against it for this rendition. Now, the bulk of the economy will be the same as our own, with jobs and all that nonsense, but with the exception that any passable femoid is going to be pressured, or even forced by the government, to become a public figure on Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, OnlyFans, whatever. Top spots in the government will be directly handed out by the simpist party, to whoever donates the most to various thoughts. Thus, whoever had the most gumption and drive, and the most business sense and political savvy would rise to the top and lead society forward, since they had the most money to donate. Over time, however, that more meritocratic system would most likely be replaced by a more semi-aristocratic system, with the government creating abstract taxes with which they would both subsidize the thoughts and line their own pockets, so they can then donate more and thus consolidate more power. Since they control the big businesses, they would most likely pander to their own economic interests as well. This will essentially make three classes: the aristocracy, who run most big companies, the simpist party, and the government. It would be somewhat similar to the planter class of the antebellum South or modern-day Russian oligarchs. Its members will be born into wealthy families and spend their lives expanding their companies, and then donating to a bunch of hoes OnlyFans, and thus working their way higher within the party and the government, leaving the family business in a better position for their children to inherit, and then repeat the same process. There would be some social mobility where talented and hardworking lay people could enter this class, and inept aristocrats could lose their fortunes and power through a series of bad business deals or poor political decisions, but it would be rare. The next class would be the thoughts. Thoughts would make up most, if not all, celebrities in a society. They would also be the richest people in the burgeoning Simpistan, and a dynamic could form similar to the Spartan heiresses of ancient Greece, where the government is funded in part by influential female internet and movie personalities. Thoughts would be totally reliant on public support, both from aristocrats and ordinary citizens, and so public image would be incredibly important. Cancel culture would be rampant, and would likely force strict conformity and superficiality. That or the rules would just be bent for them because everybody's a simp in this country, either or. Being a thought would have a shelf life for many, meaning that they could only find success between the ages of 16 or 17 and 35 or 40. After that, they would essentially retire fabulously wealthy and famous. It's possible some of them could enter the world of politics or business, which they would probably excel at, seeing as they're rich and live in a society of simps who wouldn't oppose them too strongly. Political marriages between thoughts and influential businessmen and politicians would probably be quite common. After all, if the wealth and fame of a thought and the wealth and power of an aristocrat are combined into a second generation of thoughts and aristocrats, and then a third and a fourth, then powerful dynasties could be forged that could potentially last centuries. That or thoughts would just marry e-boys and male models, and if they have ugly daughters or incompetent sons, they would have their life's work amount to nothing. One or the other. The third and largest class would be the lay people. The working man and the less attractive women would make up this class and be the vast majority of people in society. This grouping would encompass everyone from subsistence farmers to academics to factory workers to programmers to truck drivers. They would be taxed heavily, so their money can be given to thoughts, and their only source of entertainment would likely be those same whores. The only newscasters and weather people would be attractive women, and the only YouTubers or streamers would be too. It would be nice if the government wasn't giving them all your money, plus giving them tax breaks, plus letting them marry into rich families and form incalculably wealthy dynasties that solely exist to oppress you. Oh yeah, and there would be absolutely nothing you could do about it if you were one of those common people. No alternative media, no voting out the party, no funds for a violent revolution, no freedom to speak out against these hoes and their politically minded manservants. There's absolutely nothing you could do. Political nihilism would not just be the norm, it would be the objectively correct position in the society. There is no reprieve in such a dystopia. Simpia would change with technology, however, namely VTubing. Like I said, looks have a shelf life. Some women might age well enough or have enough charisma to continue on past their prime, but most would not. But this all changes when you factor in VTubing. Now, it doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter how ugly you are, doesn't matter if you're even a woman. This would massively democratize Simplandia, and as such may initially even be suppressed. But eventually VTubers would replace all streamers, weather girls, and eventually even actresses once technology got good enough. Everyone and their dog would become a VTuber, even men with voice changers. And this would water down the thought class until it ceased to even be a cultural and political force anymore. In time, even regular social media would just all be anime girls all day. This would revolutionize everything. Whereas before there would be no social mobility, for a brief moment now, Simpland would be a land of opportunity. And then, just as quickly as the bandwagon picked up speed, it would slow to a crawl. The market for VTubers would eventually become so oversaturated that it would simply implode on itself. The entire society would be based around Twitch thoughts, and now they would account for a massive chunk of the population. This would revert the society into a relatively normal authoritarian society with a few weird laws regarding female celebrity. Revivals of traditional streamers and newscasters may take place, but it wouldn't fix the underlying issue. Simpania would be structured on a three-class system. The political class, who make the decrees and run big businesses. Thoughts, who would form the entirety of the entertainment industry and who would be appeased in order to accrue and maintain political power. And the lay people, who would keep society running. What will have happened by this point is the thoughts will become so numerous that they would take a massive chunk out of the workforce. There would be a nationwide recession as a job crisis sweeps through. The aristocrats would be losing money, and thus attempt to step in order to remedy the situation. There are a number of reforms that might help things, but the most likely to be implemented is a ban on men becoming VTubers. This would end badly. There would be massive scandals as top VTubers would be unmasked as obese, middle-aged men. This may seem like a small, unimportant thing to us, something to make fun of and then forget about, but keep in mind that this fictional society is centered around e-celebs in every way. They're on your computer, on TV, in your music, in your ads, in your political propaganda the state makes you consume on a daily basis. As pathetic as it may sound, streamers, while likely hated and envied by some, would be the only escape from the living nightmare these people live in. They're an escape for many people in real life. Having that parasocial relationship shown to have been built on deceit is a big deal. Humans are not meant to interact with celebrities through a screen. That's why people take celebrity marriages, Prince Philip's death, or YouTuber drama so personally. Human perceptions and norms are solely built on face-to-face communication. This would cause strong backlash against the government, both by thoughts and VTubers and the lay people. The simpists, not wanting to anger the thoughts, would concede, repealing the law, going back to square one. Only now having wasted precious time, during which the economy will only have gotten worse, and now with an angry populace to boot. This nation would collapse. It may take a while, but no reform that could stop it is going to please all three factions. If the workers are allowed to keep more money, the aristocrats and thoughts would suffer. If the workers are repressed more severely, it only fuels discontent and eventually revolt. If thoughts, rights, and privilege are curtailed, then the workers and thoughts and aristocrats suffer. If nothing is done, then Simpistria becomes a failed state. This civilization is doomed from the start. A bit of a pessimistic take on the idea, but what did you expect? Simps can't run a country very well. But if you like the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me down below what you think a society like this would be like.
Show me how them titties fart.